Hey everybody, Mr. West here. So I have this idea on the table here. I want to put together a video for, and that is an idea that Ed over at Experimental Airlines brought up, was V-tail, and how the triangle fuse that I put together has some what looks like appropriate angles on the bottom. The two sides come together at approximately a 90-degree angle to each other. And so I wanted to do a little sample build on that. We'll see how that works. We'll go from there. So again, triangle fuse folded on all four corners, then folded into each other at the center, creates that rounded corner in all surfaces. So there's no cut corners put together and glued together. It's all folded. So it's using Ed's folded corner technique exactly, or as near as I can anyway. So I'll go through those spacing and those lines and so forth here real quick. Okay, with a sample piece here of about 20, or I should say 13-14 inches long here. So we'll be concentrating on just the back end of the fuse. The back end of the fuselage there, where the tail section comes together, horizontals. But this one will be specific about or adapted towards V-tail configuration. Okay, so I went ahead and made, I like to make a center line, and if this is, doesn't matter which end, these are equal. So this is a parallel fuse. There's no taper involved, unlike the bird that I just showed you has a tapered fuselage. But just for demonstration purposes, we're going to make it parallel. So on a full sheet, you would have your smallest dimension, the tail end, and you would have your largest dimension on the other end of the board, and then draw, cut, score your lines on this diagonal, if you will, in order to get that tapered fuse. And I showed that in the other video, so refer to that one as to how to do a tapered fuse. This one will just be a straight one. And so what I've done is the example that I made already, the bird I just showed you, the top. So this is the inside. Remember, we're looking at the inside. This is the top section right here between these two lines. This is the part that will be on top that you see on the widest portion on top. And then you have your creasing spaces of a 1/2 inch. This is where we pull the paper. Right? And this is where we're going to fold. And then we have the two side walls that come down to form the V at the bottom. So these are again inside numbers. When we fold this number, of course, is not inside dimension, so you kind of have to account for that. So what you want on the outside, you want to subtract the thickness of this material times 2. In general terms, don't quote me on that. So these are your side walls here, and then your fold sections right here and here. So there's 2 top corners, 2 bottom corners where they come together to form that return V up the middle. I'm going to use a technique that I had used earlier, and what I'm going to do is to make these sharp, more sharp. What I did is I compressed the foam. Use an object that's rounded and smooth, as smooth as you can anyway. Probably about this diameter is alright. This is about 3/8 to a 1/2 inch diameter. Center it, put your straight edge up to it, and just press into the foam there. You might like this, you may not. What it does, I found, is it makes it crease tighter on the outside. Okay. The other thing that I did on an earlier build was that I took the an arrow shaft and abused it like that. Okay, so just I kind of like the pin idea better myself. Just drag that through that space like that. Using a straight edge is probably better as a guide for this, because you can see it will wander back and forth in that space. Okay. I like to put the small ones down, like your small return sections like this. Put this down, and I'm going to put a prop up piece right here, just to keep my straight edge from flopping over. Right, and then just reach in there and hold that bad boy up. This is where you can go ahead and you take a ruler, take her all the way down, 100%, and do this all the way down. I'm getting a little crazy with it right there. Fold this one up as well. You can try. A small section like this is okay to do this with, but a long section you're going to want a straight edge or a flat stock to help you fold it up, because it will crease, it'll kink. You don't want that. And then the other two, like so, and you can put the two together. You know, here's another configuration idea too. But you end up with a cut edge here, and that's not real cool. If you make these little returns a little smaller, this would be a good idea right here. If you make these little returns smaller, as if you're doing a box build, like so, is you can make a trapezoid shape. I believe this is trapezoid in correct terminology. Is you can do your seam on the bottom, and you can do where is it? Oh, use the joining technique underneath here to hot glue that strip on, and then put the two together and hot glue the two together. So a typical box construction, or the square tube construction, except just make these legs shorter, and you can get this particular shape, which is nice too. You could even go into if you have it. Let's say you did a taper cut here. If you did a taper cut here, I know I'm getting a little off tangent here, but if you did a taper cut here and reduce this, so you'd have this shape at this end, right? And then you have at this end a smaller, narrower shape. Then what you'd end up having is this transition angle here, a continuous angle change, transition. That would be kind of cool too. So I may sample that up sometime, but right now what we're doing is that the triangle, and it's continuous, and it's going to be V-tail. So jam it together like so. This is what you get. When you do your final, this is best if it's all taped, and here's why. Pre-taped in the flat, put it together, right? Because you're going to want to use hold down tape that maybe allows a little gap, like so. So if you put yourself a little keeper tape right there, and you're going to want to be able to push this down to the table, because it's really easy to it's going to be really easy to actually glue in a twist. See how I can twist this? You can glue that in place and cause all kinds of problems with your fuse. Alright, so my hot glue is good to go. I'm going to go ahead and throw a bead of glue in there. I'm going to do it just like this. And the other thing too, watch this, if I slide it over, it's going to be off. So you got to take care in precision there to try to minimize the inconsistency, sliding off to one side or the other. And this is where it would be best if I had a piece of tape to throw on there. So I didn't ready a piece of tape, so we've got to wait till Mother Nature cools it down and it hardens, not dries. I know we use glues that are generally wet because there's moisture in it and it requires drying in order for it to set up, right? So I've heard reference to hot glue, in fact I'm sure I have, as waiting for the hot glue to dry. There's no drying involved. Here's a spot too when you're putting together a triangle fuse. This is another good location to put, or another time to build in a skid. So while there's a space here or a gap, we could have inserted a strip of wood like this. Maybe this is just for the tail section, and then up in the forward fuse section where it's going to actually make contact to the ground first, is you can put a strip up there as well. Now you can put it in between, sandwich it in between, or you can just put it in this groove right here, and in this process, I'll just go ahead and do that, because that's a good example. I'll throw that in there. What I'm doing is spending a little more time on this to get the glue that was in that joint melted and out of the way. Okay, so the glue is drying. So there's a tail skid, a popsicle stick. You know, I like it. That's cheap and easy, quick, and there you go. So all I did here is glue the center piece together. I didn't glue here, and you see how it moves? It is kind of necessary, if you will. So in the doing of putting this section together, you may want to draw a center line on the paper, right down the center all the way through, and while the paper or the folds are open, is throw a kind of a zigzag bead of glue right down the center here to capture this, and then do your folds quickly. Throw a little bead of glue down the middle line and squeeze it together, pressing it down like this, and then you won't get this shifting. It's just weaker, all right? The corners are a little bit tighter. I don't know if you can tell or have that comparison, but they're a little bit tighter, a little sharper, which is, in my opinion, is nice too. It also makes it easier. So when I crease these, pre-crease these inside spaces, it makes it a little easier to fold, and you're not fighting so much tension. At least that's what I have found. And you can use an object that's got a little more sharpness to it, or a little more pointed. You know, something like this, like a ballpoint pen. If it were just a ballpoint pen and it's retracted, of course, you can drag that through there, and that'll make a little more of a deeper impression on that foam. Okay, so now back to the details. So this is the back section right here, and I've got some scrap here that'll pull together. So if you wanted to do a standard rudder configuration, what I would do is I probably would sandwich this between the two horizontal surfaces, like this, you know what I mean? So you're going to gain some. So if you just glue this right onto the surface on top, what happens is the paper comes loose, and you'll get some flex. And if this were a joint right here, it could pull the paper up one way or the other. In fact, it could pull the paper right off of this area too, from this rudder getting bumped. You know, you walk into the house, or you throw it in the car or whatever, and you bump this here and there. It'll start pulling the paper apart. Well, if you sandwich this between those two horizontal surfaces like that, you're adding a bunch of strength there. So I highly recommend doing your horizontal with your vertical stabilizer in this manner. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this. Actually, I tell you what, I got some other scraps here that I'll use for that. We'll just wax them out here real quick. I'm going to do a fairly simple surface here. So these are the V-tail surfaces that I'm going to make for this. That's about the right size, give or take. And then you can hang your control surfaces off the back of this. You might do something like this. All kinds of different shapes you could do. But there's another reason why I did this. In fact, I kind of did it wrong here. So what I want to, I'll just throw these into the mix right here, and then I'll show you what I was talking about with this top piece. Okay, so what Ed was noticing is this angle here is at about 90 degrees. So what is this angle? And maybe I can find out real quick if I had a compass on me. So no, it's not 45. It's probably, let's see, if we're going this way, that's 90. This is 15 degrees. So 90 minus, half of that would be 7, minus, say, 3. So 90 minus, let's say, 5 degrees. So 85. I'll get the compass and work it out. But the point is, it's about 10 degrees off of 90, roughly. I know that should be simpler than that. Okay, so the next point is here how to attach. So here's what I was thinking about earlier. You could simply do this right here, and you could do a fold on the bottom here. If you took a piece of material like this right here. Where's my knife? So what if you did this right here? We'll make a wider path here, about about 3/8 or 5/8 to 3/4 of an inch. You can compress this a bit. Do your fold. Right, and then your two, let's pretend that this skid isn't in the way, and let's just say this is the back end of the plane now. I mean, you could do something like this, and then what do you do with this catch-all right here? And not ideal. So that's a real quickie. Some people might be okay with that. You could put a skid right in here so that the skid hangs out the bottom. You could fill this in somehow if you didn't like how abrupt that was. But that's simply a nice way to just throw some V-tail up. But a little more, probably a little more aesthetically pleasing, a little more difficult, is to actually cut them in up here. So that's what I'm going to do right here. I have two of these, and I'm going to mark. I'm going to mark the front end. And if your plane's going to be white, and you're going to use clear tape, and you're not going to put a color tape over it, start thinking about pencil as your marker instead of these, because you know, got these little blue marks or black marks all over the place. Let's go back here to where our tail is actually going to be located. All right, and then square right here. Throw a line on across if you wanted to do that, something like that. So then the idea is that I'm going to open up this space right here, and we're gonna slot this right in and drop it all the way to the bottom of that channel for some strength. Okay? So could you have done this when it's flat? No, I don't think so. And the reason why I say that is because this fold will not comply. This bend right here will not comply if you have already cut a slot here. So you need to do it now. And we're going to discover right now whether or not this was even a good idea, right? Because this is all experimental. So what I'm going to do is I'll take the knife elongated like this, and I'm going to try to follow that surface and just push right into it till I get to my place. My place is all the way down there. Don't try this at home. Don't cut towards your hand, right? Going down a little bit further. Do the same over here. Okay. And then we're going to want a slot. It's okay to make it a little bit tight. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. I'll check on the video here in a second. Okay. And then just nip that out of the front end. I've been in the habit of reinforcing the leading edges on a lot of my flying surfaces. So this is where the Dollar Tree bamboo skewers will come in handy. They help stiffen, maintain trueness of this material, keep it straight. It's easy to apply. It creates a rounded front edge. It makes it fairly ding-proof, and it's cheap. You know, you get a whole bag of them for 99 cents. Pretty cool. All right, so now I have a couple of slots here, and I may need to tune them up a little bit. So you get the idea. Just make a slot there, and it'll need to be on the angle, right? Pull that little bit out of there. Do a little dry fit. Stuff that right in there. There's your space for hot glue right there. And it's following the, it's roughly following, there's a little spread going on right here though. So you got to make sure that your slot is big enough that it doesn't cause this to poof out this way. And if you're okay with it doing that, then just leave it, it's fine. But if not, then account for that by taking out a little bit more here. So that's what I'm going to do real quick, because I'm going to take some additional foam board away, and I'm going to do it on an angle. This is very, very important to do. Another important reason to use a real nice sharp knife. So I'll do another one over here on an angle. That might be a little too big, but it all will pull together here, I'm sure. So this is the first time I've done this. If it looks like I've never done this and didn't plan it very well, you're absolutely right. There we go. Okay, so that doesn't poof the side out very much at all. At this time I would, if this isn't secure already, I would go ahead and secure it, make sure that it centers up. So I'm going to pull this down and get a little gap, and dribble a little bit in there. Another technique that I've learned is sometimes you have these big glue squeeze outs. Steel ruler, aluminum ruler, just set it on there and leave it there for a number of seconds. And what it does is it cools off that glue right there and gives you this really nice, flat, clean, and it pops off, watch. So you get this really nice finished end right there, whereas if you took your thumb, you burn your thumb and you get this big googe of stuff hanging out there, right? Not necessarily the prettiest. So clean up this transition space right here. I'm kind of dragging the knife through it, using my fingers as a guide on the outside. You'll figure it out. You know, and this is somebody that's been playing with, you know, his hands and knives and skills for a while, and so it probably looks like it's being done really easy. It's because I've been doing it for a while. But anyway, you'll get your skills. Just keep it up, and you'll have fun with it. Okay, so I think that one's good to go. So I want to put a bit of hot glue on the bottom. Like that. And then I'll put some here. And I'm not going to put any up here on the inside of that one just yet. And I'm going to go right through the top, like that. Push it all the way to the bottom. This could be difficult to maintain an angle. So what I'm going to do is just make sure it's bottomed out all the way. So make sure it goes down, and then lay it down on a flat surface to press that outside bit in. And this is where you could put on that top side, and put a bead right there. And if you blow on it, it dries faster. Oh, I meant to say cool. So remember how to chop, put it down on the table and just roll it, and it breaks off. Maintains the fiber integrity of the stick, the bamboo. Now it looks like I need some more glue.